why we stand in solidarity with our indigenous people. Because we also know what it's like to have your identity stolen. I ask that we close our eyes, open our hearts where our spirit lives, and honor indigenous people. Their ancestors lived on the land known as North America, whose existence was thousands of years before the first European explorers arrived. We here in the Berkshires recognize and honor the history, culture, and perspective of the Mohegan, the Nipmuc, and the Pontotoc tribes, and their sacred past, whose land we occupy. The feathers that I wear today is the Native American culture. It is a sign of respect and honor. They represent freedom, power, wisdom, honor, trust, and strength. It was Dr. Caswell Parker, a member of the Sienic Nation. He was the director of the Rochester Museum of Arts and Science, now known as the Rochester Museum and Science Center, from 1924 to 1945. And he was an early proponent of establishing a day to honor indigenous people. He convinced the Boy Scouts of America to observe a day for first Americans from 1912 to 1950. In 1914, Reverend Red Fox James, now presumed to be a member of the Blackfeet Nation, campaigned for a national holiday to honor indigenous people, traveling more than 4,000 miles on horseback to seek support from state governors. And on December 14, 1950, he presented an endorsement from 24 governors to President Woodrow Wilson at the White House. And in 1950, the president of the American Indian Association declared American Indian Day on the second Saturday of May each year. One of the first states to officially proclaim this observance was New York on May 13, 1960. Other states celebrated on the fourth Friday in September. And in 1977, during the United Nations International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous People, indigenous populations in America, an International Day of Solidarity with the indigenous people of America was proposed as a national holiday observed on October 12th. In 1990, South Dakota became the first state to replace Columbus Day, the second Monday in October, with Native American Day. And in 1992, Berkeley, California became the first city to officially observe Indigenous People Day, which coincided with the 500th anniversary of Christopher Columbus' arrival to the Americas in 1492. 2021, President Joe Biden on Friday issued the first ever presidential proclamation of Indigenous Peoples Day. He stated, for generations, federal policies systematically sought to assimilate and displace Native people and eradicate Native culture. Biden wrote in his Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation, today we recognize Indigenous peoples' resilience and strength, as well as the immeasurable positive impact that they have made on every aspect of America's society. In a separate proclamation on Columbus Day, Biden praised the role of Italian Americans in U.S. society. But he also referenced the violence and harm of Columbus and other explorers of the age brought about on the Americans. Last week, Acting Mayor Kim Janey signed an executive order declaring the second Monday of October to be Indigenous Peoples' Day, to affirm the city's commitment to reconciliation and support for the rights of Indigenous people. Mayor, she is the acting mayor of the city of Boston. Here in Berkshire County, unfortunately, we remain divided. Pittsfield Public Schools, Beckett Central School are the only school districts to officially rename Columbus Day as Indigenous People Day. It was disappointing to me as I searched the various schools to see that the W.E.B. Du Bois Regional Middle School celebrates today as Columbus Day on their calendar. Great Barrington and Beckett are the only townships that recognize and celebrate this day as Indigenous Peoples' Day. We must unite in this part of Western Massachusetts. All cities and townships, all school districts. Must come together. Stop this division. Teach our children true history. Indigenous history, like Black history, has been misrepresented by the storytellers. Like Black history, the fantastic contributions to America by our real Americans, Indigenous Native Americans, is not in our history book. A change has got to come, for it is long overdue. Can you imagine if we embrace the knowledge of our Indigenous people? We probably wouldn't be in the climate crisis that we find ourselves today. The respect of land and water that our Indigenous people had the knowledge of, we would not find ourselves where we are today. There is a sign, I'm not sure where it's located. I came across this on Facebook, not that I'm on there often. But I guess I was supposed to be on there this day. It tells the story about Indigenous people in our history. It begins with colonial history live. Let me say that again. Colonial history live. When Europe showed up in North America, Indigenous people were not nomads, not few, not savage, not impoverished, not recent immigrants, and were not looking for salvation. Yes, Indigenous people had commerce, travel, economies, permanency, stewardship, inheritance, ancestry, drama, ceremony, mourning, healthcare, politics, justice, penance, peacekeeping. And they still do today. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Dennis Powell. the president of the NAACP Berkshire's chapter. Thank you so much for those good words. And now I wanted some other words of solidarity, because that's really what needs to happen, an alliance for a viable future all together. We have Annalisa Jacobson from Manos Unidos here to say some words of solidarity with indigenous people. Annalisa.